Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to lesson 5 of our chapter on the Midwest, titled How Does the Midwest Solve Problems We All Share? In this lesson, you're going to use your investigative skills to explore ways that Midwesterners are contributing to solve global problems. Reading and talking about these contributions will help you understand the importance of the Midwest as a region. So here you can see this picture that we have, and the caption reads, "Some species of carp jump in the air when disturbed by boat motors." So carp are these kinds of fish. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at what we need to do in our blue bars. Look at the title. What does it suggest about the topic? Circle words and phrases you don't know. Underline words, phrases, or sentences that help you understand what problems Midwesterners are trying to solve. Then, what problems do Asian carp cause in the Midwest? What are some ways that Midwesterners are trying to solve this problem? What role are Midwesterners playing in preventing the spread of invasive species? What do you think would happen if the carp spread into the Great Lakes? Carp species threaten the Great Lakes. The waterways of the Midwest are important resources, especially the Great Lakes. They are used for trade and recreation. They are also vital to the environment. Like all concerned global citizens, Midwesterners have to take measures to keep resources such as the Great Lakes healthy. Asian carp are large fish that harm waterways. They are invasive species. Invasive means the species spread and threaten native wildlife. As Asian carp populations take over rivers and lakes, they eat up all the food. Native fish starve and die off, which harms the freshwater environment. The carp also pose a risk for humans. Some carp can grow up to 60 pounds and jump more than 5 feet in the air when disturbed by boat motors. They can cause serious injuries to boaters. The first Asian carp were brought to fish hatcheries in the southeastern United States nearly 50 years ago. Some fish escaped during the floods and started swimming up the Mississippi River. If Asian carp continue to travel up the rivers in the Midwest, they could threaten the Great Lakes. This is a critical concern for Midwestern governments and environmental agencies. Protective measures, such as electric barriers in dams and rivers, prevent Asian carp from entering the lakes. Environmental groups continually check fish populations in the Great Lakes. They are protecting the future of the Midwestern waterways. Asian carp barriers. Electric barriers in Midwestern rivers help keep Asian carp from entering the Great Lakes. All right, let's take a look at our graphic organizers. Here we're going to explore details to draw a conclusion or to make a conclusion. So the first detail that they gave us were that Asian carp are an invasive species threatening Midwestern waterways. Another detail that we can pull from the reading is that environmental agencies are tracking Asian carp and they're working to prevent them from entering the Great Lakes. The conclusion that we can come up from all of this is that Midwesterners are contributing to global protection of the Great Lakes from Asian carp by preventing them from spreading out into other regions. Next, we're going to read pages 222 to 229 in our Research Companions. That's our textbook. And we're going to find details that lead to the conclusion that Midwesterners contribute as global citizens in agriculture, in industry, and in preserving the environment. So that means we need to find information about all of those to list in our details section. How does the Midwest solve problems we all share? America's breadbasket. The Midwest is called America's breadbasket because the region grows most of the grains for the United States. Grains such as wheat are used to make bread. The Midwest has rich soil and a good climate for growing crops. The Midwest today is still a farming region. Farmers grow more corn, soybeans, and wheat than the rest of the country combined. The Midwest is the heartland of America. Being located in the center of the country allows farmers to send food to every part of the country. Farmers use freight trains, river barges, and trucks to transport crops. Food from farms in the Midwest feeds the nation and the world. A single Midwestern farm provides food for about 155 people in the world today. Half of the wheat grown in the Midwest is exported to other countries. Most of the corn is used as fuel or feed for livestock. The Midwest is the largest grower of some produce as well. As human populations increase around the world, so does the need for food. Americans send more food to help people in foreign countries than any other country in the world. America's breadbasket has provided food aid to over 3 billion people around the world in the past 50 years. So the first detail that we can put into our graphic organizer here is that Midwesterners produce food for the country and for the world, and they provide food aid to other countries. Alternative energy. The Midwest is doing its part to preserve the planet in many different ways. Midwestern farmers use new planting techniques to restore valuable soil. They also use improved irrigation systems to reduce the amount of water that is wasted by running off fields. Another way Midwesterners are helping the planet is by seeking out sources of alternative energy. Alternative energy uses renewable resources such as wind, sunlight, and plants to produce energy. This helps the environment by using fewer resources and making less pollution. Wind energy. The wide open prairies of the Midwest create windy weather conditions for most of the year. These conditions can be used to create electrical power. Large wind collectors called turbines spin when the wind blows. The spinning blades produce electricity. Wind energy does not make pollution. Many turbines can be found on wind farms throughout the Midwest. The land around the turbines can still be farmed. Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Minnesota are national leaders in wind energy. Many wind farms in the Midwest are built on existing farmland. Solar energy. Another form of alternative energy is solar energy. Renewable energy from the sun is collected by solar panels and converted into electricity. Solar energy is a clean energy source. Large panels linked together form a solar farm. These can power whole towns. Like wind farms, solar farms allow Midwestern farmers to use the land around the panels for crops. Individual solar panels can also be attached to roofs to power a single building. Biofuel. Corn is used to make an alternative energy source called biofuel. Biofuels, such as ethanol, are made of renewable resources. Unlike fossil fuels that are buried underground for millions of years, biofuels can be grown each year. Ethanol is used as a fuel for cars, planes, electric generators, and creates less pollution than fossil fuels. About 40% of the corn grown in the Midwest is used for biofuel. Solar panels convert sunlight into electricity. Corn is used to create ethanol, a biofuel that can be used to power cars, planes, and electric generators. So another detail that we can add into our graphic organizer here is that Midwesterners preserve natural resources by finding forms of alternative energy. The changing automotive industry. American cars were originally built in the Midwest, in cities such as Detroit. Today, the automotive industry is global. Americans make and sell cars all over the world. Major American car companies still have headquarters in the Midwest. However, their factories can now be found in many different countries. One reason is cost. It's less expensive to build a car in the country where it will be sold. Most of the car parts used in foreign factories are made in the United States. But the tradition of making automobiles has brought foreign car manufacturers to the United States. Some foreign car companies make about half of the cars in American factories. Modern features. Cars today have come a long way. Early cars started with hand cranks and had top speeds of 45 miles per hour. Today, cars have modern features designed around safety and comfort. Safety features include seat belts, airbags, and cameras that detect danger on the road. Many cars are sold with systems that tell drivers the best way to get to their destinations. Car companies are also working to develop technology for self-driving cars. Cameras and computers operate these cars without a driver. They can carry passengers or deliver goods. Many states already have or are considering laws regarding self-driving cars. Making cars environmentally friendly. Car manufacturers today consider the environment when designing new cars. New engine designs and lighter materials help cars use less fuel. Some car makers build cars that run on alternative energy sources. Flexible fuel vehicles run on biofuel and regular gasoline. By using biofuel, flexible fuel vehicles use fewer non-renewable resources. They also create less pollution. The first electric car was built long ago in 1891 by William Morrison of Des Moines, Iowa. In the early 1900s, electric cars enjoyed some popularity but were limited in power and range. Gasoline-powered cars soon took over. Today, electric-powered cars are becoming more popular. Some run on batteries, some use small amounts of fuel to power generators. Hybrid cars run on both fuel and electricity. 15 major car companies now sell electric cars. All right, so the next thing we can add in is that Midwesterners participate in the global automotive industry by developing new innovations and features for modern cars. Keeping the Great Lakes clean. The Great Lakes contributed to the growth of the cities in the Midwest. However, the growth of population and industry in these cities sometimes affected the lakes in negative ways. During the 1950s, Midwestern cities were booming with industry. Factories dumped their waste into the lakes. Sewage from the cities flowed directly into the water. The shores of the Great Lakes were littered with garbage. Water pollution was killing fish and water birds. By the 1960s, environmental organizations began studying the Great Lakes to see why the fish were dying. They discovered that the water was full of poisons. Chemicals in the water were killing wildlife and were dangerous to humans. Midwesterners wanted to do something before the lakes were ruined. Residents picked up trash along the shore. Cities created rules to limit the factory pollution going into the lakes and rivers. State and national governments passed laws to stop activities that harm waterways. Cities also built sewage plants to clean wastewater. Thanks to these efforts, the Great Lakes are cleaner. Wildlife has returned and the lakes are protected. Currently, concerns about the lakes include the threat of invasive species such as the Asian carp. Local agencies are working to solve this problem. People living in the Midwest worked with the government officials to have laws passed to clean and protect the Great Lakes. The Cuyahoga River. The Cuyahoga River runs through northern Ohio into Lake Erie. It passes several industrial cities, including Cleveland. In the 1960s, the river was badly polluted from many years of factories dumping waste into the water. Sewage and other debris flowed directly into the river. Pollution became so bad that the Cuyahoga River caught fire several times. It became known as the Burning River. The federal government became involved in the cleanup. Congress passed the National Environmental Policy Act in 1970. The act required the government to research how policies might affect the environment. Factories and cities were no longer allowed to let their wastewater flow into the rivers. Congress also created the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. The organization helps watch over environments in crisis, such as the Cuyahoga River. Because of the new regulations, the river is becoming safe and clean again. Another positive result of the disaster is that it inspired Americans to take action against pollution. In fact, the first Earth Day celebration took place on April 22nd, 1970, 10 months after the river fire. So let's jump back and fill in our last detail here. Midwesterners worked to clean up the lakes and rivers and encourage the government to protect the environment. And then in our writing sections on the following page, under write about it, it says persuade. Write a persuasive paragraph about the Midwest today to convince people of the region's importance to the world. Include details about the region's contributions in agriculture, industry, and the environment. So here, make sure you're using lots of detail about what we read in the passages. Include include your points and then support it with details and how those things were helpful to the economy as a whole and why they're important. In the connect to the essential question section where it says pull it together, review your conclusion about how Midwesterners contribute as global citizens. How did these contributions reflect the American spirit? So you can talk about being leaders in certain kinds of innovation, work that they did to protect the environment, foreign aid as far as sending food abroad to other countries, and how those things contributed and helped other places as well as the American economy. Make sure you use complete sentences and lots of details. And if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.